Hello everybody and welcome back to some fan fun times. Now if you didn't see the first video where I was doing this, this is basically just a series where fans offer up their ideas or their characters for different kinds of subjects, and whatever subject I'm feeling that day, whatever inspires me the most, I do it and make a little video out of it, and we all have a very fun little good time and I interact with my fans a little bit more. If you'd like to know a little bit more about that, you can check out the previous video or you can read the journal that I'm going to link in the description about it if you'd like to participate. But I want to keep that to a minimum today because we're going to do some character redesigns and I'd love to start talking about what I'm doing. So these were all characters that were offered up to me voluntarily to be redesigned, either just for fun or because it's an old character who needs a design update, what have you. They just kind of give me some idea of what they want to keep and what they want to change, and then I just have a ball and I redesign the character and we have a fun time. So this first character was provided by Knight of Ferre, I believe is how that's pronounced, and the character's name is Ariel. Now the outline they gave me for this character was that they were like an angel lookout, so angel for important places, always looking out for bad guys or people who look like they want to cause trouble, that kind of thing. But they told me that they really just kind of, I could just sort of do like whatever I want, like I could change the species, change whatever, do whatever inspires me. They just kind of are curious to see where the design can go in that kind of sense. So I definitely had some fun with this one. When I originally pulled up their design, when I looked at it, the first thing that came into my head was I saw the little like bowler hat kind of thing that they were wearing, and it just immediately made me think like Mafia, or like, you know what I mean, like Mafia or mob boss kind of thing, you know? So I thought that would be a really fun idea to play around with, so I decided to kind of turn them into a little bit of a like a mafia lookout, or the lookout for a crime organization. So I tried to make them look a little bit more like they're a bit younger, they're a bit new to this kind of thing, they're a bit of a lackey, and they have to look out and make sure that nobody gets caught when they're doing anything illegal, that kind of thing. And while I would like that idea with angels, I think that would be a very interesting little story concept, I felt like I wanted to play around with having them be something a little bit different rather than just slapping on a pair of white wings. So I decided to make them just a little bit more of a person with bird wings, and I decided to go with a magpie because some of the colors were very similar to a magpie's colors, which is typically a lot more of a blues and sometimes even greens, but with the whites and the dark blackish purple kind of stuff. And I thought it was very fun to play with. I did tweak their colors, so their colors are a little bit less purple and a little more blue. But I really like how it came out, and I think it was very, very fun, and I think it was just a fun little idea that I got spurred on with, and it was interesting to do, and I thank the person for providing the character for it. So this next character was given to me by Chocolate Milk Rose, and I don't think this character actually does have a set official name, but it was given to me under the pretext that it was originally they were a creepypasta character, but they're a horror-themed character, and the person wanted them to look more scary and less cute and friendly kind of thing. So that was the goal with this design. So the original concept of this character is that she has, like, all of her insides and her bones have been turned into ink and is now, like, seeping out of every, like, orifice and pore of her body, and she's kind of, like, slowly turning into ink very progressively, you know, that kind of thing. And so a lot of this was less of a goal of, like, actually changing her design and her concept, and more just about giving her a pose that made her look unsettling even if she was still a cartoony character, because you can still have a cartoony style and make a character horror related, just depends on the little details you choose and how it's executed. So for this one, the first thing I did was basically just put her in a more uncomfortable position. Typically, we as people don't like seeing other human beings suffering. I mean, maybe we might not feel immediate sympathy or feel immediate fear out of that, but we're typically not going to smile or think it's cute if someone's wrenched over and in pain and like coughing up blood or something like that, which obviously she's not doing in this picture. But having her just look more uncomfortable and in a less natural, relaxed pose really gives the immediate impression of like, this isn't a good thing, this isn't a cute thing, this isn't a charming thing. Another little thing I wanted to do with her was simply having ink coming out of her nose and out of her mouth in the picture. If the ink was coming out of every pore of her body, it would most likely be coming out of her mouth and her nose, typically. But also just having that little detail right there, it emphasizes that the ink is coming from inside out rather than it like basically sitting on top of her. It just basically makes her look a lot less like she's been dunked in ink and more like the ink is coming from inside her. It's a very subtle detail, but it can be very, it's can typically be a very helpful distinction to have something like that. The very last intentional detail I'm going to talk about is basically the decision to hide the eyes. In both references for this character, she had her eyes showing and they were very large, character eyes. Now, eyes can be a very powerful thing when it comes to storytelling as well as horror. There's a reason why we say eyes are typically the windows to the soul, or why we associate big eyes with cute things or something like that. And that's simply because we relate to eyes, we connect to eyes, we look at people's eyes when we first look at them most of the time. So they're a very important thing at discerning whether or not something is human. And it's also the fact why, glazed over eyes represent when somebody's dead, or maybe not all there, and hidden eyes can give a sense of mystery or kind of a sense that the character's not acknowledging you, or just that there's something else going on there. So by hiding this character's eyes, we kind of take the relatability out of her a little bit, and we make her more intimidating because you can't see her eyes. You almost can't tell if she's human or not. That's obviously an exaggeration, but hopefully you get my point of what that means in a symbolic sense. Now back to the fun, quirky, silly character fun times. We have a character provided by a little trashes here named Adri, I believe is how you pronounce it. So the key point from their message that I thought was interesting and was the sort of design route I wanted to take with this character was that they said she was originally made to sort of be a deep sea creature, and I think that they thought that they felt like the bright colors detracted from that, but I personally think you can definitely have a character that looks like they're from the deep ocean but still have a lot of bright, fun colors to play with. So I actually decided to go the route of making her look more like a deep sea creature. And a lot of that came out of just simply making small little changes here and there, just to sort of resemble being a deep sea creature without taking away from what the original design was. The big one being the gills on the side and the change of the hair, you know what I mean? Having a lot of gills is kind of an instant way to make a sea creature look like they're supposed to survive in very, very deep water, because the deeper an animal lives in the ocean, the more gills they'll typically have, depending on what creature it is. That's generally a rule for sharks, for sure. Another thing, too, was I wanted to actually take away her hair and actually instead exchange it with having this large sort of fin on the top of her head instead, just because I thought that would be a fun little experiment to have. I mean, she has all these like semi-transparent fins everywhere else. It felt like something fun to, instead of having hair, to have that fin there, especially because I don't know why, maybe I'm the weird one, but I've typically seen that when people create deep sea characters, they don't usually have hair. They usually have something in exchange for hair. So I've kind of taken it as we associate deep sea monsters with not having any hair. So, that's kind of it was just a fun thing I wanted to experiment with. And then the last thing was just really playing around with her colors and actually, rather than taking away from it, rather like emphasize it, like commit to it, you know, go like the extra mile with it. So I really went crazy with giving her all these different spots, having a color palette with all these different like shades to it, having her spots a lot more scattered and diverse rather than only just a few here and there, and it was really, really fun, and I think it looks kind of cool. I also find when you merge the tail into the skin more, it kind of makes them look more fish-like and therefore often more deep-sea-like, depending on who you are, you know? So that's definitely what I wanted to play around with. I'm rambling at this point, but this one was definitely really fun to play around with for the colors, and all those transparent fins were a ride, but I like how they turned out, and it was a very fun one to play with for the last one to do. However, before we leave this lovely beach that we're all now suddenly on, you didn't know this at the beginning of the video, but we were on a beach the whole time. As you can see over there, we have our $2 tier plus patron. I wave to them and I love them too. Mwah, blow you a kiss, thank you. But also here on the beach today, we got my $5 tier plus patrons. I've already high-fived them all. Isabel GD, Shadow Cat Inc., Mick, Starman, Neko Sister. They're over there playing in the ocean or whatever they're doing. But you know who else is out here on this wonderful beach we're on? Why, it's the $10 tier plus patron building some sick sandcastles over there. Pythoness, Rose, Gunmoon, Twisted Disaster, Absolute Trap, Lorinth, Jago, Fema, Petty Prince, Miss Mersuciel, and Skyek 2. They got some sick sandcastles over there, if you know what I'm saying. But anyway, to all my lovely patrons, I love you all, and to everyone else, I will see you in the next video, whatever it may be. Zodiac out.